Hi, I'm Ash and welcome to this video where I'm going to talk a bit about parawings. I did jump onto the parawing what I would say is relatively early. I did avoid the very first parawings like the NCS Roger and the first BRM. I knew this sport was going to evolve and very quickly, and I just didn't want to be one of the beta testers. Firstly, because I was at the time really enjoying my winging, and secondly because the spot I ride is really not ideally suited to parawing. At least that was what I thought at the time. When the Pocket Rocket launched, I knew this would be the parawing to change things for the better, and I bought a 4.3 meter to learn. The videos for that are on my channel, and I didn't actually feel it was that hard, and that was despite there being some influencers at the time making a very big deal about it being really difficult. As it turned out, I just picked one of the very best parawings available to learn on, and before long I bought a 3 meter Pocket Rocket and sold my 4.3 meter. My view at the time was it needed to be blowing at least 25 knots at my local spot for there to be waves worth parawinging. Anything under this and a wing was a better idea. This opinion was born out of the fact that the waves at my spot are very close period, not very large and very weak, so when you close off your parawing you are unlikely to be packing it away, and the wave ride is going to be well under 30 seconds long. This means a lot of stashes and a lot of redeploys. Not all waves you pick are good ones, some rides may only be 5 seconds before you are throwing the wing out to regain power. What the Pocket Rocket taught me was that it really wasn't very good at this usage profile. It was very suited to going way upwind, packing away and then riding for 15 minutes. But if you are constantly stashing and redeploying, then expect a large part of your session to be untangling a parawing. For this reason, parawinging very quickly migrated to being a sport I did occasionally and only if the conditions were absolutely perfect. And even in those perfect conditions, much time was spent dealing with failed redeploys and tangled lines. Parawinging just wasn't fun, and I had it firmly in my mind that it was going to stay that way unless someone produced a parawing that was way easier to stash, faultless on redeploy, and much less prone to tying itself in knots on a regular basis. Come November, Ozone announced the Power Pack. I watched the videos, I watched Ozone themselves talk down their wing. It's for more expert riders, it doesn't go upwind as well. Yeah, it stashes much more easily and the bar is cleaner, but it's slower. It was one of the least convincing product launches I'd ever seen. But the talk of a better stash and redeploy and less tangles, despite it being very muted and underplayed, had me intrigued. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a go, and if I don't like it, I'll just sell it. This turned out to be the best decision I could possibly have made when it comes to parawinging at my local spot. My initial purchase was a Power Pack 3.6 meter. This was good for me from around 20 to 30 knots. A reasonable wind range and a wind we get regularly enough for me to ride the parawing more frequently than my previous 3 meter Pocket Rocket. Right from the very first session, things were significantly different. Firstly, I didn't find this parawing any more difficult to ride than a Pocket Rocket, so scratch the for experts only marketing, as that just wasn't true. What it does do is sit a little further back in the wind window, which means it tends to pull a little harder than a Pocket Rocket, which is not a big deal for me, I ride in the harness all the time. It is also very slightly more sensitive on the bar to backstalling, so you just keep your hands forward on the bar and that problem disappears. So what else has changed? Well, it's a little slower than the Pocket Rocket and it points a very smaller amount less upwind. It also doesn't depower quite as fully as the Pocket Rocket, but I'll talk about this a little more later as it isn't quite that simple or clear cut. In terms of what you gain, well, the line length is way better than the Pocket Rocket. Even the bigger sizes like the 4.3 meter are very comfortable, less than an arm's length pull to fully stash the parawing. Also, the centre A lines are stiffer and there are no splices in them, so when you run your hand up the lines to the wing, it's super smooth and doesn't cut into your hands. The centre A lines are also easy to identify and grab as they are already separated out, so you don't have to try and kind of select the 4 centre ones like you do on a pocket rocket. You just grab the centre ones because they're already separated and just run your hand straight up to the wing. The bar is missing the middle connection lines and has sort of the floating line yoke type thing where the middle lines are connected to another line that runs from the front of the bar to the back of the bar. It just keeps the bar super clean, and I absolutely love that because it means that I can wear open palm mittens. I don't have to wear fingered gloves anymore, and the clean bar is just so nice to use. You're never running your hands up against lines or the lines getting in the way. It's just really nice having that clean bar. The bar is also smaller in length than the pocket rocket, and it just feels like it's the perfect size, whereas the pocket rocket always felt a bit long. It's a bit long to stash in the stash belt, whereas the Power Pack one is a much more, it just feels more comfortable. It's just a much nicer length bar. Now when you do stash the wing, it falls out of the sky instantly, unlike the pocket rocket, which when fully powered can be difficult to pull down. Once you have the Power Pack down, it is much less likely to spin and tangle as it's lower aspect and the front leading edge battens are stiffer. So you have something more solid in your hands that is significantly easier to concertina and then pack. I'd always really struggled to get the pocket rocket out of the sky when it was powered up, and then once down it would usually spin and tangle all the lines. Even if I did get it down in an orderly fashion, there was a huge chance it would just spin and tangle itself on redeploy. With the Power Pack, it's completely different. Redeploys are incredibly reliable. You can just throw it out and it will just inflate instantly and pull onto power. And it's extremely rare that I get a failed redeploy, and usually it's because I've tangled the lines up myself whilst I was wave riding, and the redeploy fails because of that, not because the wing is prone to tangling, which is how I felt about the pocket rocket. Now I cannot overstress just how much this changes your riding when you know it will stash instantly and redeploy perfectly. You stop worrying about the stash and redeploy. They become a non-subject that you don't even think about. Instead you concentrate on your wave and your foiling, which is the fun bit. And when your wave is over, you chuck the parawing out knowing that it will redeploy perfectly. This level of confidence in the wing is, and I hate to use this term, a game changer for spots where you are constantly stashing and redeploying. For me, parawinging went from being frustrating at best and damn right annoying at worst to just being fun. Exactly what it should be. No drama, just the equipment doing what it's meant to do without tripping you up and tying you in knots. So let's just come back to depower, because I said earlier it wasn't as clear cut as Pocket Rocket better, Power Pack worse. This is because although with the Pocket Rocket when you hang off the front lines it will depower a huge amount and the rear of the canopy just flaps, you lose all steerage of the wing when you do this. So whilst it is depowered, it's not really under fine control anymore. With the Power Pack, when you hang off the front lines it depowers. Not as much as the Pocket Rocket, but enough that you can comfortably control the wing unless it is absolutely nuking. It does become a bit of a handful in those situations, but then so does a pocket rocket that you can't steer. The nice thing on the Power Pack is that although it may not depower quite as fully as the pocket rocket when you hang it fully off the A lines, it is still fully steerable. You don't lose any control. This allows you to cut higher upwind to depower using board angle rather than just trying to lose all power out of the wing. I wanted to do this video because there is a proliferation of parawingers in great offshore conditions going way upwind, riding beautiful swells for 20 minutes or so and extolling the virtues of upwind ability. which for me, and I'm sure for many other parawingers, is nothing like the spot we sail day in, day out. My swell is weak, wind-blown, low period, and damn right hard to ride for more than 30 seconds. Stash and redeploy are by far the most paramount features of the parawing in these conditions. I will happily sacrifice a little upwind ability or speed to gain rock solid stash and redeploy, and if you're like me and riding spots like that, then the Power Pack should be a wing you're looking at very carefully indeed. For reference, I have a quiver of Power Packs, the 4.3 metre, the 3.6 metre and the 3 metre. They were all purchased by me from my local shop, which is the Water Sports Centre. I just make this point as I want to be clear that I didn't just ride a powering for a day and make a video. All my videos I spend significant time on the equipment before committing camera and voice to video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.